I got a text at 3 a.m. from my nephew Derek. "Thanks for the cars, old man. Sold the '67 Shelby and the Corvette. Crypto doesn't buy itself. Don't bother calling the cops. Everything's in my name now." Later, I sat there in the dark, phone glowing in my hand, reading it 3 times. 42 years I'd spent building that collection. 42 years of sweat, grease under my fingernails, and more money than I cared to count. The Shelby GT 500 alone was worth close to $400,000. I'd restored her from a rusted frame I found in a barn outside Tucson back in '89. I should probably back up. My name's Robert Hayes. I'm 68 years old, retired from both the Army Corps of Engineers and from running Hayes Classic Restorations. I've rebuilt more vintage cars than most people will ever see in their lifetime. My garage, well, my warehouse really, holds 12 of the finest American muscle cars you could imagine, or held, I should say. Derek isn't my son. He's my sister Caroline's boy. Was, anyway. Caroline died of cancer 15 years ago when Derek was 23. His father had been out of the picture since Derek was a baby, so I stepped up. I didn't have kids of my own. My wife Janet passed before we got that chance, so I tried to do right by the kid, paid for his college, gave him a job at my shop, taught him everything I knew about cars and business. Turns out I taught him a lot about business, but nothing about character. The problem started about 5 years ago. Derek got into cryptocurrency, NFTs, all that digital gold rush nonsense. Started talking about disrupting industries and 10x returns. He'd show up to work late, spend half the day on his phone watching crypto charts, talking about becoming a millionaire by 35. I tried to be patient, tried to explain that real wealth comes from real work, from building something with your hands that people value. He'd just laugh and call me a boomer who didn't understand the future of finance. When I retired 2 years ago, I made a decision I've regretted every day since. Derek begged me to sign over the business to him, said he'd run it, keep my legacy alive. I was tired. My back hurt. My hands were starting to shake from all those years of gripping wrenches. So I agreed, but with conditions. The business went to him, but the cars, my personal collection, those stayed mine. We had papers drawn up, clear as day. The 12 cars in the private bay were Robert Hayes' property, not assets of Hayes Classic Restorations, LLC. Or so I thought. That text message came 6 months after I signed everything over. 6 months of Derek slowly, methodically, planning to rob me blind. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. At 6 a.m., I drove to the warehouse. My hands were steady on the wheel. Old Army training, I suppose. Don't panic. Assess. Plan. Execute. The private bay was empty. Completely empty. 12 spots where 12 masterpieces had sat. The '67 Shelby GT 500, the '69 Corvette Stingray, the '70 Chevelle SS, the '68 Charger. All of them. Gone. I stood there in that empty space, and I'll admit something. I cried. Not much. Just enough. Those cars were more than metal and chrome to me. Each one represented years of my life. The Shelby was the first car I restored after Janet died, working through grief one bolt at a time. The Corvette was supposed to be Derek's graduation gift, until he told me he'd rather have the cash value. But I didn't cry for long. I'm an engineer by training and a soldier by temperament. Time to gather intelligence. I called my lawyer, Martin Schwartz, at 7 a.m. sharp. "Robert? Little early, isn't it? Need you to check something, Martin. The ownership papers on my car collection. Derek claims they're in his name now." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm looking at the documents right now. You signed them over to Hayes Classic Restorations as business assets. Last month, my blood ran cold. I never signed any such thing. I'm looking at your signature, Robert, notarized and everything. I need copies of everything. Now." And Martin? "Start looking into forgery laws." I hung up and called Tommy Chen, my old master sergeant from my engineering unit. Tommy ran a private investigation firm now. Tommy, I need a favor. Big one. Name it, Captain. I explained the situation. Tommy didn't say much, just listened. That's what I always appreciated about him. No drama, just action. I'll have a preliminary report by tonight, he said. Sounds like your nephew's been planning this for a while. Sit tight. But sitting tight isn't in my nature. I drove to Derek's apartment, a luxury high-rise downtown that he definitely couldn't afford on his shop salary. The doorman wouldn't let me up. Mr. Caldwell left instructions. You're not on the approved list, sir. Derek's new girlfriend answered his phone on the third ring. Melissa, I think her name was. Some Instagram model type. He's busy, she said, and I could hear Derek laughing in the background. You tell Derek that theft is a felony in this state. You tell him I'm giving him 24 hours to return what he stole. He didn't steal anything, old man. Everything was legally transferred. Maybe you forgot? I hear that happens when you get old. She laughed and hung up. I sat in my truck in that parking lot for a long time. Then I called Bobby Patterson and Frank Delgado. Bobby ran the local classic car club. 200 members, most of them serious collectors. Frank owned 3 auto shops in the county. They were both friends, the kind you make over decades of shared passion. Bobby, it's Robert. I need the club to keep an eye out for some cars. My collection's been stolen. Stolen? Robert, what the hell happened? I explained. By the time I finished, Bobby was swearing colorfully. That little punk. I knew something was off about him. Always talking big, never doing the work. You need us to watch the auction houses? Everything. Auctions, private sales, online listings, especially crypto sales. He mentioned selling the Shelby and the Corvette already. On it. Frank's here with me. We'll spread the word. Nobody moves classic metal in this region without us knowing. Tommy called at 9 p.m. with his preliminary report. It's bad, Robert. Your nephew's in deep with some cryptocurrency scheme. He's been forging documents for months. Titles, transfers, even faking a power of attorney in your name. The notary stamps are fake too. He's got about $600,000 in crypto debt with some very unfriendly people. How'd he get the cars out? Had a transport company come in the middle of the night. Showed them forged papers saying the business was relocating assets. The transport guy had no idea anything was wrong. Derek put 3 cars up for auction in Miami, 2 in Texas, and sold the Shelby and Corvette to a private buyer in Nevada for $750,000 cash. Do we know who bought them? Working on it. But here's the thing, Robert. I found something else. Derek's been telling people you have dementia. He's got a doctor's note and everything, claiming you signed over medical power of attorney to him 6 months ago. The pieces fell into place. That's why the notary accepted the signatures. That's why Derek thought he could get away with this. He was building a narrative that I was a confused old man who'd given him everything and then forgotten about it. Tommy, I need proof he forged those documents. Already got it. The notary he used? Fake. The license number doesn't exist. And I've got video from your doctor's office. You haven't been there in 8 months, so that dementia diagnosis is completely fabricated. I should have gone to the police right then, but I needed one more piece of information. Where are the other 7 cars? Storage facility in Henderson. He hasn't sold them yet, probably waiting for prices to go up or for the heat to die down. How do we get them back? Legally? Could take months. A good lawyer, injunctions, the whole 9 yards. But Robert, there might be another way. I knew what he was suggesting. I'm listening. The storage facility owner is a guy named Mike Torres, former Marine, runs a clean operation. If someone showed him proof those cars were stolen, he might be willing to cooperate with the legal owner, especially if that someone had proper documentation and a police escort. Set it up. I spent the next 3 days building my case. Martin assembled every document showing I'd never signed over those cars. Tommy got statements from the transport company admitting they'd been deceived. Bobby found the auction listings for the 3 cars in Miami and had them pulled when the auction house realized the titles were fraudulent. But I needed Derek to make a mistake. I needed him to incriminate himself. So I called him. "What do you want?" His voice was cocky, confident. "I want to talk, Derek. Just talk. You and me. Like family." "We're not family, Robert. You're just some old man who can't accept that the world's moved on. I'll give you the business back. No contest. Just return the cars." He laughed. Actually laughed. "The cars are gone, old man. Sold. That money's working for me now, making real returns. You wouldn't understand. You spent your whole life working with your hands like some kind of peasant. I'm building an empire. An empire built on stolen property." "Stolen? I have all the paperwork. You signed everything over to me. You just don't remember because you're losing your mind." "That's what the doctor said. Anyway, I never saw any doctor, Derek." "Sure you did. 6 months ago. Dr. Raymond Chen diagnosed you with progressive dementia. You signed the power of attorney right there in his office. It's all documented." "Dr. Chen, huh? The one who works at Mercy General." "That's the one." I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. "Interesting. Because Mercy General doesn't have any Dr. Chen on staff." I checked. Silence on the other end. "Derek, I'm giving you one chance. Quote, return the cars, pay me back the $750,000 from the 2 you sold, and I won't press charges. You can't prove anything. I can prove everything. Forged documents, fake medical records, false notarization. That's fraud, Derek. That's identity theft. Federal crimes, some of them. You're looking at 10 years, minimum." More silence. "Then, you won't do it. You won't put family in prison. You stopped being family when you stole from me. 24 hours, Derek. Tick-tock." I hung up. He didn't call back. I didn't expect him to. Men like Derek never think they'll face consequences. They always think they're smarter than everyone else. 24 hours later, I walked into the county sheriff's office with Martin, Tommy, and a thumb drive containing every piece of evidence we'd collected. The detective who took our statement was a woman named Sarah Mills, mid-40s, sharp eyes. "Mr. Hayes, this is quite a case. You're alleging your nephew stole almost $1 million in vehicles and forged multiple legal documents. I'm not alleging. I'm stating facts. It's all in there." I pointed to the thumb drive. She spent 2 hours reviewing everything. Then she looked up at me. "This is solid. Really solid. We can pick him up today if you want to press charges." "I want to press charges. And I want to be there when you do it." Derek was at the warehouse when the police arrived. He was showing a potential buyer around, some kid who wanted to commission a restoration. I stood outside with Detective Mills and 4 patrol officers. "You're sure about this?" Mills asked. "Once we walk in there, there's no going back." "I'm sure." We walked in. Derek saw me first, and his face went white. "Robert?" "What's—" "Derek Caldwell," Detective Mills said, stepping forward with her badge out. "You're under arrest for grand theft auto, forgery, identity theft, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent." The buyer kid backed away slowly, eyes wide. Derek started arguing, saying this was all a misunderstanding, that I was a confused old man who didn't know what he was doing. Mills wasn't having it. "Sir, we have surveillance footage of you meeting with a document forger. We have testimony from the notary company that your license numbers were fake, and we have medical records proving you fabricated a dementia diagnosis. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it." They cuffed him right there in the shop he'd inherited from me. As they led him out, he looked at me with pure hatred. "You're really doing this? You're really sending me to prison? You did this to yourself, Derek. I just made sure you faced the consequences." The storage facility owner, Mike Torres, was more than cooperative once I showed him the court order. All 7 cars were still there, covered in dust but untouched. Mike even helped us load them onto proper transports. "Sorry this happened to you," he said. Guy seemed legit when he rented the space. "They always do," I said. Getting the other 5 cars back was harder. The buyer in Nevada had paid cash and had no idea the cars were stolen. Martin negotiated with his lawyer for 3 weeks before we reached a settlement. I got the cars back. The buyer got reimbursed by Derek's seized assets, and nobody sued anyone. The 3 cars at the Miami auction were seized as evidence and returned after the criminal trial concluded. Derek's trial lasted 4 days. His public defender tried to argue that it was a family dispute, that I'd given him permission and then forgotten. But the evidence was overwhelming. The forged documents, the fake doctor, the fabricated notary stamps, the recorded phone call where he admitted to the fake medical diagnosis. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge gave him 8 years. With good behavior, he'd serve 5. That was 14 months ago. I've got all 12 cars back now. The Shelby needed a new detail after being transported, but she's perfect again. The collection's complete. I don't run the business anymore. I sold it to Frank Delgado for a fair price after Derek's arrest. Frank's a good man who actually cares about the craft. But I still spend most days in my garage, working on one car or another. The muscle memory's still there, even if my hands shake a little more than they used to. Bobby and the club threw me a party when I got the last car back. 200 people showed up to celebrate. It felt good, being surrounded by people who understood what those cars meant to me. But here's the thing nobody tells you about revenge, about justice, about winning. It doesn't feel the way you think it will. Derek wrote me a letter from prison 6 months into his sentence. I almost didn't open it. When I did, it was 3 pages of excuses mixed with apologies. He blamed the crypto crash, blamed the people he'd gotten involved with, blamed his mother's death for making him desperate for security. The only thing he didn't blame was himself. I didn't write back. Last month, his girlfriend Melissa showed up at my house. She looked different. No makeup, regular clothes instead of designer labels. He wants to see you, she said. When he gets out, he wants to apologize in person. He had plenty of time to apologize before he stole from me. I know he screwed up. But he's different now. Prison changed him. I wanted to believe that. Part of me still does. Derek's my sister's son, the only family I have left. But I learned something these past months. Family isn't just blood. It's trust, respect, earned over time through actions, not words. Derek destroyed that. Maybe he can rebuild it someday, but it won't be quick, and it won't be easy. If Derek wants to make amends, I told Melissa, he can start by getting a real job when he gets out. Not crypto, not get-rich-quick schemes. Real work. Then we'll see. She nodded and left. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him. I don't know if I should. What I do know is this. I spent 42 years building something beautiful, and I almost lost it because I was too trusting, too willing to help someone who saw kindness as weakness. I won't make that mistake again. These days, I take the Shelby out every Sunday morning. There's a stretch of highway outside town, barely any traffic at dawn, where you can open her up and really feel what she can do. The engine roars, the wind rushes past, and for those few minutes, everything else falls away. It's just me, the road, and a car I built with my own 2 hands. That's enough. That has to be enough. Because at the end of the day, you can't build your legacy on someone else's respect. You build it on work, on craftsmanship, on doing things right even when no one's watching. Derek never learned that. Maybe he will someday, in 5 years when he gets out and has to face a world that doesn't care about his excuses. Or maybe he won't. Either way, I've got my cars back. I've got my reputation intact. And I've got the satisfaction of knowing that when someone tried to take everything from me, I didn't just roll over. I stood up. I fought back. I won. And if that makes me a bitter old man who couldn't forgive his nephew, so be it. Some things are worth fighting for. Some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. Derek learned that the hard way. And I learned something too, that the strength I thought I'd lost with age, that warrior instinct from my army days, it was still there, just waiting for the moment I needed it. Turns out, you never really stop being a soldier. You just choose your battles more carefully. This was a battle worth fighting, and I'd do it again.